Oh, all right, everybody. Welcome back to an episode of Jorge's Isolation Podcast. I haven't done this in a very long time. It's been months. I think the last episode I dropped was in August with the wonderful Robbie Ramos of the fantastic show on Stars Heels. He's known as the Diego Cottonmouth. But today I have another exciting guest. I have an old friend from way back in the day who's doing some really awesome things. I've got my buddy Ricardo Diaz. He is a cinematographer. He is an amazing human being. I remember him as being really, really funny too, and an aggressive basketball player. That's what I remember too. So his most recent work that he's been working on is coming out this Friday, right?
Yeah, it's Friday.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Rick, welcome.
Thanks.
To the
Hey,
podcast.
man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. Talk to my old buddy. We're not that old, man. Instead of like we're like old. But yeah,
Dude,
I mean,
it hits
grew
me
up
though.
together. Sure,
I
it
mean,
does. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, I remember I played. We were in sports, and I was
We did the
lifting.
sports, all the sports.
We did the sports, and I lifted the weights, and I find myself like working out now at a gym, and I see these kids, and I'm like 20 years old. They're 20-year-olds. They have to be, and they are animals. I thought I was a big dude when I was in high school, but I was never that big, never that strong. And these kids just make me feel old.
I feel like 10 years ago, fitness, not even 10 years ago, like that generation that got into their 20s when we were getting into our 30s, fitness and Instagram, everyone could see you all the time. You had a presence, and like everyone just got yoked.
Yeah.
I wish I would have cared enough to have gotten on board.
Yeah.
But I'm always just terrified I'm going to hurt myself somehow. And then I won't be able to work. And honestly, that's just something I make up in my head. I should get back out there.
Well, I mean,
in the gym, the weights, and the basketballs and the running.
And see, but I mean, my job, I think, kind of depends on it sometimes. I'm in front of the camera. Right. And so I often wonder if that affects it. But one of the things about these kids that, like, I mean, we'll talk about other stuff, but it really is, like you said, about 10 years ago, the whole fitness craze with Instagram and all that, is that they're not just lifting like meatheads to lift. They're not lifting just to lift. Like, no. They go in there, they do their prehab, they foam roll, they have proper form, they're doing the deadlifts with proper form, they're taking their rest breaks. They're actually doing it for health reasons, but they're smarter about it. So that's why they're so much bigger, and nutrition is so much simplified.
They take great photos. That's really what it boils down to. They look great. It's
the lighting that you can capture these days. The lenses on phones.
Everything we can do with our mobile phone, it's incredible. It's really mind blowing, and it gives me a hope, of course, that we'll be able to squash some of those healthcare costs as people get healthier. But I'm also like, maybe I should jump on board. I really haven't been able to get back to any. I mean, I'll never get back to high school shape, obviously. But
bro, it
would be nice to be able to dunk again. Yeah, I gave up that dream. It'd be nice to dunk again. That would be. Man, it's not impossible.
Nice to sprint again. That's the thing. I want to run. I tried running with my little girl. Ran into a parking lot, and I sprinted like maybe 10 feet most. Oh man, I was hurting.
It hurt. Yeah,
it hurt.
Yeah, the things you got to ice. That's when we need the foam roller. We're not being preventative about it. It's always
or the little massage guns.
The Theragun.
Yeah, the Theragun.
Man, that thing feels weird, but it does feel good. It's a weird good. It's a weird good. Like Play-Doh. You're like, this is good, but it's weird, and I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird good.
It's a weird good thing. Yeah. So you are a wizard behind the lens.
Well, that is kind of you to say. Generous. Yeah, man. A very generous statement.
When did you get involved with that? because I remember in high school, I mean, you were doing one act. Did you do one act? I never got into, I mean, as an actor, I never did the one act. I was in Gartman's class.
Gartman.
Yeah.
Gartman. That's
Well,
right.
I mean, do you remember theater in high school?
Of course. Oh my gosh, of
I
course. Along with track, one of the few co-ed sports, I'll call
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a mix of things in high school. I mean, you were around for a lot of it, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I did theater in high school. I really did enjoy putting on a production. I enjoyed storytelling. There was a lighting element to it too. That was a lot of fun to learn.
yeah,
You know, most of my first basic sort of lighting techniques were all theatrical, you know, stage stuff.
yeah,
And then I don't know if you remember this particularly, although you probably saw me running around with a camera, but I was also the president of the Video Tech Club.
yeah, yeah,
And you know, I've definitely spent a lot of time in the halls at Sharyland High School, just making videos that I was cutting for my own, you know, selfish, dumb stuff.
yeah,
But also, we were doing stuff for the school. I mean, we were making content for the school and for the, you know,
yeah,
the public broadcast, you know, SHS, whatever it was
yeah,
called at the time. So, you know, I was definitely kind of combining. I mean, I knew I wanted to go on to school, to college and do, you know, cinematography specifically. But at that time, it was still just fun to be making stuff with your friends and shooting videos and,
yeah,
you know, playing with all the new technology that was coming out. And also the fact that, you know, I got to push Mr. Tremmel, who was the video tech
mm-hmm.
teacher at the time, to get some new software, and I kind of pushed him to get more gear and to move into digital
Yeah,
technology, because we were right at the end of like VHS and Super 8 and you know, SVHS as kind of the high level stuff we were using in high school,
yeah,
into like mini DV, the digital capture, and
yeah,
into, you know, non-linear editing systems. I mean, we were still doing tape to tape, like
really,
record stop at the beginning of that. And by the end, you know, I encouraged them to get a copy of Premiere Pro. I don't know if it was called Pro at the time, it was just Premiere, Adobe
yeah,
Premiere. And at
yep,
home, I was cutting on Final Cut Pro.
yeah,
I got a very legal version,
yeah.
definitely not off
The
of
LimeWire version.
LimeWire. Definitely not off of LimeWire.
Yeah,
But I did pay for the hardware. You know, I saved up and got a really old Mac. It was old for that time.
yeah,
And yeah, man, we were just making stuff, and I just knew that I loved collaborating. I loved messing around with my friends, and I like doing. I love doing theater. I have some unbelievable memories, and, you know, made some really good friends doing it. So, and of course with video tech too. I actually got
yeah.
a scholarship. I don't know if you know this, but I got like a
No,
$500 scholarship to college
really?
for video tech. Oh
I
yeah,
didn't,
I was fancy. I was very fancy.
dude. What I remember is when I was at Sharyland, I was all about football, and I was just 100% like, you know, go team or nothing else. And I remember one day there was auditions for the one act play, and I was a linebacker at this time, and those auditions were held during practice, I think on a Wednesday, and
Mm-hmm.
every linebacker left for auditions, and I'm like, no, they're pussies for doing that. And like Pat Dickerson went, Matt Trefke went, everyone went. And then I realized I should have gone, because I'm never going to play football. I had a torn shoulder that still bothers me to this day. My career is in acting, and
It's amazing.
it's just I'm nowhere near a football. I mean, I'm like 5 minutes away from MetLife where the Giants play, but that's as close to football as I get. And
Yeah.
it just blows my. It's one of those things. It's like, man, I should have done that. It was what one act was it? I don't even remember my senior year, your junior year.
That I want to say was the
Those,
only year I didn't do it. I think that would have been Antigone
yes, I
with
think so.
Katie as
Yes,
Antigone, Katie Leonard.
yes, yes.
That's right. Yeah, that was the
I'm
year
pretty
that
sure.
was the only year I didn't do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was the only year I didn't do it. I was focused on basketball and track, and then I did football the next year, and that was the 1 year I didn't do it, but that was Katie was great. Katie was great.
Yeah.
And did you? So you didn't do it that year?
No, I did my senior. What I think we did, like in Gartman's class, we did Sweeney Todd, and every class did their version of it, or there was like an amalgamation of them all. And I played it's just lowbrow valley, a racist version of a character, of an Asian character. We're kids. And if there was video of it, I would probably be canceled. Like for sure, I'll be hard canceled. But
I mean, dude, it was look, there's
there's
no excusing ourselves, but like, yeah, man, the Valley is a unique place. We were really, really, really ignorant. It was but it is what it is, dude. And also they were it was a high school play. I think we have to, as Latinos, you and I have to understand that there's a lot of misconceptions about us too, and you just got to grow and learn. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it took me a lot. I since I didn't really leave the Valley until I came to New York for grad school, I learned a lot about just diversity in general. I mean, you at least went to Austin right after high school.
Yeah,
I kind of stayed around.
Necessary. It was necessary to get a little bit of perspective.
Yeah, man. And so when you went to when you went to Austin, that you had that dead set there, right? With film.
Yeah, but I got in on a shoestring. I wasn't top 10%, so there was no guarantee that I was even going to get into the school. But I ended up getting in, but I did not get into the film program. I just got into like liberal arts.
Okay.
Kind of undecided. But I knew I was going to get into that program, and I knew I was going to fight to get a place in that program, and I eventually did. And but yeah, I think a part of it was because I got involved, and I knew that I had more to give than how good my SAT scores were. I knew I had a passion, and I knew that I had a love for this, and I was willing to pour my heart and soul into it. And I think eventually I just annoyed the department enough, and they let me in. But yeah, I did go in knowing like cinematography, that's kind of where I want to focus my time. And I shot a bunch of people's stuff. That was kind of the thing. Like, I'll do the classes to edit and direct, because those are the classes, I gotta take them. And I had a great time doing that as well. But I knew that my heart was in creating the illusion and the atmosphere and the sort of visual language of a piece, like that, playing with the toys but also getting to sort of paint with light is like this technical and artistic thing. You can't beat it. It's such a great job, and I'm so grateful that I get to do it.
No, it's one of the most fascinating things to me now that I've been working and being on just any kind of set. Is one of the biggest thrills for me actually is the setups. And I remember the first big film I ever did, the first film was Going in Style, and Zach Braff was directing that. So it had all that, but just how grand it was. They had like that how dumb I am with this stuff. I was asking you about the Luma 2, the crane and all that. They had one of those, and I was just so amazed. And they had that the floating the light,
the balloon lights.
The balloon lights. And see, like as an actor, I should know more about this stuff. And I, in between takes, in the beginning, I didn't have a lot of lines. So I'd say my one line and just watch everything. The setups is just so brilliant. I don't even know how, you see it on set. And then when it's the finished product, it just blows my mind how you can just get those kinds of pictures from all that chaotic stuff, the craziness going on.
Yeah. a lot goes into it.
Yeah.
There's so much planning, there's so much testing. Like I said, it's a craft. It's,
Yeah.
there's research, there's a lot of technical mumbo jumbo that goes into it, but at the end of the day, what you're really looking for is feeling. Like, what is the
Yeah.
image I'm creating sort of signal to the audience, or how does it support the story or the themes or the characters emotional journey, sometimes like on a macro scale, and maybe sometimes just like on a micro scale. This scene, like how can the camera, the perspective of the camera, the way the camera moves, in conjunction with lighting and atmosphere and tone, how do all those things heighten or punctuate what the story is saying or what the actor is trying to convey? And I think that's the funnest part of the job, is when you watch your movie or you watch your commercial or TV show, as it were. I just kind of dipped my toe into television last year, and seeing it all kind of come together, and you see it like all kind of gel, those elements come together. It's a really good feeling. Oh, and then when you get like all the other elements, the cinema, music and sound design and great production design and all those things come together, and editing, and it all just it's magic, man. What we get to do is magic. Have you ever like just thought to run up to one of the
all the time
camera people on set and be like, what are you doing? Like, why is that like there? What's your
I do it all
we
the
love
time.
to answer that. I love answering that question
all the time. I do it all the time, and I try to learn as much as I can while I'm on. The last thing I did was a Law and Order episode, and the director, Alex Hall, him and his team edited the first season of True Detective, which is probably my favorite TV out there. And he was telling me all about that because of the drama. Nick Pizzolatto, the creator of the show, and Cary Joji Fukunaga, they butted heads throughout the whole thing. So he was saying, it's like, how do you find a balance between one's vision and the other, and then marrying it? And one of the things that I found, I've seen the show all the way through, like maybe 8 times. I watch it every time I fly down to the valley, because it lines up perfectly with every episode, like all the way down. So it makes the area of Louisiana a character, and it brings you in, and it's like, how did you find all that? And even the lighting, sound is also another thing that just I just want to know more, because I tried to direct something once, and it got lost in the ether. It just a rookie mistake. We had it on a hard drive, and the hard drive died. And
no,
it was a blessing in disguise, because what I learned was I need to learn more about visual storytelling. I need to learn more about shooting just like a little bit less, because I try to shoot like 40 pages in like 3 days, and it's just
and it's not impossible.
It's not impossible. It depends on
what you're doing.
And I had like $1,000 budget with, what is my wife always says, I had champagne taste with the beer budget. That's just it was one of the things that I really needed, was to know how to plan shots and tell that story visually. And that's one of the things I've been learning more about. And you see it in film all the time, or like you're saying, like the whole planning of shooting something, where whenever you see, I can't remember what movie it was, but whenever you see these characters, it's a yellow, they have that palette, that color palette of yellows, and then there's greens over here. There's always like just different things like that. And why I go back and I rewatch whatever it is that they're talking about, and I'm like, that makes so much sense. And when you're
there's just an infinite number of choices, what I mean? There's an infinite number of choices, and you can literally put the camera in almost, it feels sometimes, an infinite number of places, and you can put someone in an infinite number of wardrobe pieces, and you can design your set in an infinite number of ways. So it's really, really important that you have intention, that that whatever you're telling has intention, and that intention starts with just conversations with your heads of departments and going, this is what the story is about, and this is what the character is trying to say or go through. And then those discussions are what should, motivate your decisions as to why the camera is there. Why is the camera behind their head, in this moment when they're not being honest? Why are we not in their eye line? Why are we off to the side? Why are we on a wide lens but in a close-up, and like like this thing, sorry everybody. But it feels uncomfortable. Like why are we doing that? Like it's because it's the filmmakers telling you, oh, you need to feel a little uncomfortable right now. And there's an infinite number of ways to use all of those tools in our toolbox to affect the audience. So you have to have those conversations, and you have to watch the greats do it, right? Like you said, commentary is fabulous for that. I don't know if you've ever seen obviously I don't know, have you seen Aronofsky's Requiem for a Dream? Okay, so if you go on to Amazon, there's like a DVD version that, like a special edition version that has obviously Aronofsky's commentary on it, but there's also Matthew Libatique's cinematographer's perspective on that commentary. And so he has his little track on the movie. And it's if you ever wanted to go to AFI to sort of learn visual filmmaking, like you could save yourself some money and listen to Maddie's track, because it really puts you into the decision making, like the why of it all. Why is the camera there? Why is the lighting this way? Why did you choose to photograph it this way? It's so cool, man. And I would go to Amazon and look it up, buy yourself a copy, because obviously Darren and Maddie Libatique met at AFI, and their sensibilities were clearly aligned and made some great movies together, and still do.
Absolutely. Still do.
But like hearing some of that was, oh man, I almost maybe wonder if I should have paid all that money to go to AFI. Just kidding. Love you, AFI. You're the best.
Well, you obviously went to UT, and then did you get a lot of experience there? Like, were you shooting a lot of stuff just on your own or through the school? I think you did one of the, what is it, Burnt Orange Productions?
Oh man, amazing. You remember all this. No, for sure, dude. I was
Hallettsville or something like that, right?
Really lucky. No, I didn't. Hallettsville wasn't a part of Burnt Orange, although I did work on that through my friend Andrew Lee, who was helping on the production side of that. And I came on to that project as a camera assistant. That was very early on. But no, UT at that time, as you mentioned, had like a for-profit side called Burnt Orange Productions, and then they had the sort of nonprofit school affiliated side called University of Texas Film Institute, UTFI. And I just happened to be I just lucked out. I just happened to be at UT at this time when they had this brilliant idea to finance movies, develop projects with students, and greenlight outside projects that they would fund and students could work on in entry-level positions. And then at the same time, once a year, create a movie that was internal, something that they had developed in the UTFI program with a screenwriter that they would then give a budget and put students into more key crew positions. And they made about 4 or 5 movies. I think they did 5. And of the 5, I worked on 4 of them. Almost entirely during the point at which I was at UT. And the lady who had that program, UTFI, Burnt Orange. Oh gosh, and I am blanking on her name. Forgive me, but
I do it all.
She used to run AFI. She ran AFI's producing track for many years. And then so that little nugget got planted in my head that maybe go to grad school is an interesting option, to really hone in on cinematography. And I found out they had it's a conservatory, and you choose a track, and that's all you do. There was no learning about social studies. Or whatever. It's like, you just come here for 2 years.
Yeah.
And you spend a lot of money, but at least it's 2 years and not like a 3 or 4 year program like other grad schools. So
yeah,
that was where that sort of nugget got dropped in my head. And that experience from doing those projects with Burnt Orange and UTFI really gave me a resume and some work to show to the world. In fact, one of the movies, I even shot the opening title sequence on 35 millimeter film because the
Really?
cinematographer was not available to come back to do it.
Yeah.
And I got the chance to shoot those opening couple minutes. That was a really big deal for me at the time.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a movie with Blake Lively.
Yeah. Wow.
Who has gone on to be a very big deal. She's done a few things. She's married to some guy, some dude. He's done.
Yeah.
Who's to say?
Yeah.
But who's to say? But yeah, man. And then of course I didn't actually go to grad school right out of school. I moved to Los Angeles, but for a girl, and I just puttered out the career. You know, like changing cities is it's tough. You know, you probably can speak to this.
Yep.
Even with a resume, even with all of that, Los Angeles, it is a bit of a relationship. There is a relationship aspect to this business,
and totally is.
I didn't know anybody, so I showed up and didn't know a single person, got a job as a post-production PA on a reality show. I was basically just making DVD copies and driving them around town. That was pretty much the job. And I was just like really sad that may be my future. And so that nugget came back into my head and I applied to grad school. And sure enough, I did with all that material that I had. Yeah. And I got in. And then I spent 2 years at AFI during the worst financial recession, you know, in 80 years. So, you know, it was a good time to be there, other than the interest rates that got locked in early on. But I'm grateful for it. I had a wonderful experience at AFI, and, you know, it's not for everybody. I totally get that some people would rather just go spend their money making a movie. But I find that I work really well in like educational systems where I can be kind of coached.
I agree with you as well. And I had a similar situation with myself going to grad school because. Yeah.
Where did you go again?
So I went to the New School for Drama.
Oh yeah.
So the New School here in New York.
Right. I knew that.
And I don't even know if the New School for Drama, the actual drama portion of the New School, I think they got swallowed up by Lang, not Parsons. I don't even remember, but at this point, but you know, it was the old actors workshop, the actors studio. That's where it was before it went to Pace. So where you see, you know, Bradley Cooper asking Robert De Niro a question.
What a clip.
I gave a speech in that auditorium during our graduation.
In that chair?
I want to sit.
You're giving the speech. You're at the front. Yeah.
Where's Cooper at? Where did he sit? But there when I had graduated from, I went to Pan Am, and you know, they have a theater program there, but it wasn't.
I sure do.
It wasn't in depth. It was just, you know, like you said, you had to study social studies and algebra and all this other shit that you don't need to be an actor or anything like that. And so I kind of just wanted to challenge myself and learn more, like pinpoint it. Just funnel it in there. And so I went to New York, but what I found as well was that even though it was an educational setting, I don't know if this was the same for you, is it also gave you time to network while you were in school. Like
it hit the nail on the head.
You might have.
That's it.
Maybe you did learn a lot more, and yes, but it was just you were just coach. You got the reps in that you needed. And it was kind of like a worry-free period. You know, you were there for 2 years. I was there for 3 years, and I got the reps in for those 3 years. I got a little bit more confidence, a little pep in my step, so that during those 3 years, I was still meeting people outside of the school. So when I graduated, I hit the ground running. You know, 2 weeks out, you know, I booked my first commercial, and, you know, I've been very fortunate in the work I did, but I think it's what you're saying. Kind of the same thing. It's like you networked as well. Like you use that time, not just for school, but, you saw a big picture like this. You're gonna be in school for 2 years,
Yeah.
but what are you gonna be doing 5 years from now?
Right. I think, I mean, you took the words out of my mouth. It's all of those things. It's everything from getting the reps. Also, you come in, I feel, with just this sort of ball of raw talent. And there's a lot of like breaking down and building back up. Like you said, reps. I mean, it's exactly what reps are. I mean, so I guess I have nothing to add to this conversation because you're 100% right. You took the words out of my mouth. And networking and relationships are so important.
That's crazy.
It's crazy how it all comes back in that way. One of the filmmakers that has I've made a bunch of movies with, I met at UT, and we continue to make films together. And I owe a lot of people believing in me as a feature and narrative cinematographer because of him. So many of, Texas Chainsaw was, David Blue Garcia, who I met in undergrad at UT, also 956, by the way. I don't know if you know that.
Yes, that's one of the other things I was gonna tell you too is, I'll let you finish this, but just remind me to circle back to what I was going to ask you about that.
Well, no. I mean, that's pretty much the conversation, right? It's just that, like, I know him, and that's the world. It's relationship. It's a relationship.
It's all relationships, but does it blow your mind how many people from the Valley are doing stuff in the industry?
No, it's not. And I think it's only not surprising because, I feel millennials and sort of later Gen Xers, we all realized how we had the internet to show us sort of a little taste of what the rest of the world looked like and what the rest of the world was. And as scary as it was, I think, for a lot of us to leave family down in the Valley, because a lot of our older relatives and cousins and friends, a lot of them that didn't leave because there's this feeling of, understandable. There's a lot of strong familial ties in our culture and certainly in the Valley. So, but we all got a taste thanks to the AOLs and, everything that gave us access to the outside world and led us to believe that it was possible, to make a life for ourselves. Which I think is what the Valley is. It should be a launching pad, and you can stay there and of course launch something wonderful there too. But I do think that it's that first step into this country, and for many of for them specifically, and others for their parents and maybe their grandparents. Yeah. And so, man, I'm not surprised. I feel like as crazy as it is to think that small little place is seeding so much talent, I also totally get that we're out kicking ass.
There's so many people doing so much from where, I mean, just look at the 4 years
in all aspects, right?
Yeah, just like,
in all aspects.
In our high school alone, in like let's just say a range of like 2-3 years above you, 2-3 years below you. Yeah, I mean, Lindsey Graham is casting the biggest movies.
I mean,
everywhere.
Biggest. It's like, good for her, man. She is just the most deserving, amazing, and incredibly talented at what she does.
Absolutely, and just the sweetest human being. You're shooting awesome movies, and you're working on big commercials and TV shows. And Ali, remember Ali Naqvi? He's doing stuff right now. And
just directed an episode of
Westworld. He just did that.
He directed an episode of Westworld.
Yes,
dude. Like, he put the time in, and we've all did video tech together. Like, Ollie's killing it, man. He's really put in the time. Yeah, good for him. I'm excited to see that episode.
Me too. I'm very proud. Ali was the stage manager of the very first play that I ever, first full play I ever did. I was an understudy, and I was at Pan Am. And that was like the very first understudy. And
he did it at Pan Am. He was the stage manager at Pan Am.
Wow. He's doing film there. Awesome. And then he went off to LA a couple years later. And it's just crazy. And that's just like on a given Monday in 19 99, we were all walking through the halls. Like, I mean, I played the bad guy in Chicago PD, you know, like it's just, you know, I'm the bad guy in Law and Order. It's crazy to think. And there's more people now that I think have graduated from Sherryland, have done stuff. McAllen, you know, Raul Castillo and Tanya Saracho. There's another girl, Ariana Guerra as well. I think she's in a show called Promised Land.
I'm not familiar, but that's amazing.
I just found this out, you know, and she was in a movie called Madres. There was another young lady, I think from Hoya or Edinburgh. She was on Broadway.
Yeah, but dude, we also can't forget Peter Madrigal, man. Like this, I mean, we have someone like he's a Bravo celebrity, like a legitimate Bravo celebrity.
Yes,
it's like, you know, I mean,
he's part of the Vanderpump Rules family.
Yes. Oh, dude. I mean, look, I love that show. My wife got me into it during, I don't know. I mean, well, actually, she got me into that pre-pandemic, but Bravo as a whole, like she definitely opened me up to that. And I'm a huge fan of it. But yeah, I mean,
he was a freshman when I was a senior. Yes.
Yeah.
And he started doing his own business stuff.
Yeah. And then I mean, gosh, Peter, obviously you've got, you know, David from Harlingen, you know, directing Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's
crazy. I can't even, I'm sure there's somebody we're missing just at Sherryland who's I'm just not,
I think
not
Josh
coming
Stewart
to me right now.
Josh Stewart.
Josh Wise.
Josh Wise.
Although love you, Josh Stewart, if you're listening. One of the best athletes I ever met. Ever. Still, I'm sure he still is. Bastard.
Yeah.
But yeah, Josh Wise. Whitney Wise's little brother who had that show Do Over on the CW or the WB.
The WB and then CW.
WB.
It's crazy.
Look, we've a lot of folks have touched the mantle. You know.
Do you know they call us in New York the Texas Mexican Mafia?
Oh, really?
All the people that come from the Valley, it's the Texas Mexican Mafia because there's so many of us coming up that are doing stuff here in New York. Yeah, and a lot of them have gone from New York to LA, like Mando Alvarado. He's written a lot of stuff. Just there's a ton of folks out there.
Oh man, I mean, it's kind of crazy. To be honest, to think about that. And I also know that, again, I don't know her and I'm not sure how much time she spent in the Valley, but Catherine Hardwick is from McAllen.
She graduated from Mackay. Yeah.
Graduated from Mackay. There you go. I mean, you know,
here's another one.
We get out there.
You know how there's always a rumor? It's Valley rumors. You know, my uncle knows this person, or you know who went to this high school. And the rumor I remember was Thomas Hayden Church being from Harlingen.
Oh, that's right. And I don't know if that is that true? Did you ever get the skinny on that?
So I worked with him.
I was going to say
I worked with him a bunch of episodes on divorce, and the very first day I went up to him and I was like, "Hey, man, I have to know this because there's a rumor where I'm from down." And I also, if you're listening or watching, we're talking about the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas. I know there's the Valley in California, but this is the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas. And so I asked Thomas, I was like, "Hey man, there's this rumor that you are from Harlingen," and he's like, "You know Harlingen?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm from McAllen." He's like, "Well, no shit," and he's like, "Yeah, I actually grew up in Laredo, but I graduated from Harlingen." And
that's sure enough, really good THC right there,
man.
That's a really good THC. Yeah, yeah. It's like he's in the room with me.
Yeah, he's
so it's true.
Awesome. It's true, dude. He's like, I still have a warehouse out there I haven't been to in a while, and I think because of that exchange or interaction, he got me on another episode. And I was supposed to do like 2 episodes. I ended up doing like 2 more, and I did 2 more after that, so 6 episodes total on divorce.
Oh, dude, you know who we're forgetting? I know who we're forgetting. Sorry to interrupt. George Chapa.
Oh, here I am.
Crushing the game.
I'm the way
dude, you're doing you're doing amazing, by the way. And
thank you.
I'm so stoked for you, and I feel like you can't be stopped. When put in the game, you'll score the touchdown.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll block for the
use
guy,
a sports analogy.
Yes, I'll be the lead blocker for the guy scoring touchdown, and it's just I'm the way I describe my career to people, because like whenever you say something like, "Oh, I make movies," the follow-up question that the other person is going to have is, "Oh, have you done something I've seen? Have you been in anything?"
Yeah.
And so the way I describe my career personally is, there's this documentary called That Guy That Was.
But I have seen everything that you're in, by the way.
Yeah.
Everything. I know where to find everything you've been in. You know what I mean? It's called like prestige television.
Yeah.
Well, so
I don't know if you saw the doorman from Succession, but
and you were excellent.
Well, thank you. They cut half my scene, but it's all good. I was on it. I was there. I'm credited for 2 scenes, actually, 2 episodes, and I lost that other episode, so you see me in the one. But yeah, man, it's there's this documentary called That Guy Who Was in That Thing, and it's all these actors that you've seen, but you just never know their names, so you just say that guy was in that thing, and that's me, and I'm happy. I'm working. I've been very grateful and fortunate for the stuff that
No, you're working, but you're waiting patiently. There's going to be the thing, man. There's going to be look. There's gonna the right thing's going to hit that table, and you're going to be basically running away with Sundance awards for that badass movie that kills it, and then the rest will be history. Look, at some point, Michael Pena's got to move on to other stuff or get.
That's what I say. Like, there's other fat guys that have to retire.
Or die
off.
Michael Pena is not fat.
He's not fat, but I am. And so there's other guys. I mean, John Goodman's old now.
John Goodman's old. He's old.
Yeah, so I can fill in. There's what big guys are really out there right now. Except the guy that was in Cruella and I, Tonya. The big guy. What's his name? I blank out on his name. Richard Jewell or something like that.
The guy. Yeah.
The big guy with the mustache.
Galooly, who played Jeff Galooly.
Yes.
I know you're talking about. I don't know his name. It's escaping me. I mean, I do know his name. It's just I can't remember anybody's name right now.
Bro, I the worst. I don't know if it's because we were talking about how we're getting older. I used to be so good at remembering everybody's name. It's
important in this industry, man. It's really important in this industry to do that. Yeah.
Super important. And I am the worst at remembering names now.
My wife calls me a goldfish. I'm a goldfish.
Really?
Yeah. I got to be really, really present. I got to really try super hard. It's something, but I'm working on it. I'm working.
Oh man, it's
be better.
You see so many people, and if you jump from project to project, then you're gonna see some of the same people, depending on like I run into some of the same people I've worked with over the years. But I remember with casting directors, when I was first starting out, I wouldn't remember who they were because I was so nervous and I didn't want to suck.
Yeah.
And you go into that little audition room and everything just kind of just like fades away. And I don't remember anything. I don't remember what casting directors look like. And so I have to Google them sometimes. And that was really bad. But now I'm much better now. Now that
that's important. That's a big deal. I think what you to speak on what you said, sometimes, it doesn't matter if you spent 4 months with those people on this project or that project. It's amazing what happens after you do another project. And then you're trying to remember not the one you just did, but the one before that one. And you're like, oh God, how is this possible that I forgot the on-set dresser's name? I spoke to him or her every day for 8 weeks in a row.
Yes.
How on earth why can't I pull that name from my head right now?
Yeah.
It's man, we have to give ourselves a little bit of forgiveness because we're always put in these, high stress situations making this stuff. And it's amazing how much bandwidth there really is for, project to project. But man, it's also, I need to be getting old. It could be that too.
Well, I mean, I did this movie called, was it Viper Club? And it was
Viper
the very
Club
first
with Susan Sarandon.
So my very first scene, I was in the very first scene with her. I'm the bus driver, Cal, the bus driver, and we spent the morning together. And that was, I would like to say 2017. I think it was, or so. 16, 17?
I think it would have been, yeah, it would have been like early 17.
It was cold, so it was in the winter. I remember
Like
that.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing Ray Donovan in 2018. And I was working with her that day. And I was like, hey, I'm so glad to be working with you again. And she's like, did we work together? I was like, yeah, I didn't expect you to remember me. We did that one scene, the very first scene of that movie. And I told her, I was like, Cal, the bus driver. She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Because she was telling me, like, oh, you did this good job. It was
she was graceful about it. She was graceful about it.
Yes.
That's all.
And
that
she
really
remembered
matters.
after, and she even brought up details of the day of the bus and all that. So yeah, but I know how she feels because I do the same thing all the time.
It's not ego. It's not, it's really not. It's gosh, it's just hard. You see a lot of faces, and there are so many people on set, and you do your damnedest, you do your best, but it's hard to keep it all in there. I mean, there's really only so much bandwidth,
Did you work on
so
that?
much hard drive space on Viper Club.
Yeah.
No. But a good friend of mine, Drew Daniels, shot the film. He is a UT graduate as well, and incredibly talented DP. And he, I remember he did that. I think after he did Krisha with Trey Edward Schultz, blew up at South by, and then he did a couple movies. Viper Club, and another film that's escaping me. But I remember, him and I always, when we're shooting stuff, we tend to like send each other images of what we're doing, and kind of just like, hey, that's really great. Like, what are you using for that shot? What do you blah, 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 blah. And we tend to, whenever we're working, we tend to do that. And so I just remember some of the images that he had sent me with Susan. It was just like, oh my God,
she's awesome.
Sarandon, holy shit.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It was a really cool moment. Yeah. So no, I did not work on it, but I feel like I know it because of Drew and the great work he did on it.
Yeah. It was a great experience. I mean, working with anybody like that. I mean, when you see that these people are stars, I personally often wonder, like, okay, are they really that good, or are we really just pumping them up? And 9 times out of 10, you see exactly why they are the way. Going in Style. I'll go back to Going in Style all the time because it was just a masterclass for me. I didn't do anything. I didn't even have lines. I auditioned with the way the audition worked was they said, hey, it's a movie about a bank heist with Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, and Alan Arkin. And I'm thinking, this is going to be dramatic. This has got to be crazy and serious. And I went in there as if I was being mauled by a bear, and that was like the whole audition. And I ended up spending 6 days on this silly comedy of these old men trying to save another guy's house. But you would see these guys look like they just woke up from a nap, and they always probably did wake up from it. I actually have a picture of me in between Morgan Freeman and Michael Caine, and Morgan Freeman's asleep. And just on my Instagram somewhere. And man, they say, all right, we need y'all first team, and these guys are ready to rock and roll.
Instant.
They turn it on. Man.
Yeah. No, you and I have that I got the glorious pleasure of working with Morgan as well on a movie, Brian Banks.
Time.
Yeah. And look, there's a ton of, I've worked with a lot of actors who just make it look so easy, but Greg Kinnear on that same film is another one of those people who just, could read the ingredients on the side of a cereal box and like make you want to eat xanthan gum, and Morgan is like, takes it to an entire other level. Like he could read the ingredients on the back of an industrial cleaner and make me want to drink it. Because he just has that, like for one, it's incredible to me how quickly they can remember their lines. Some of them will look at those pages that day and then just hit their mark, and all of a sudden you're just like, what just happened? Like, not only are you in awe of the fact that it's Morgan Freeman or Alan Arkin or Greg Kinnear, Aldous Hodge, and I mean all these wonderful people. But it's also you really do forget for a minute who you're looking at, because they just take you somewhere, man. That's what they do. And that's what you do. It's like that magic of just like taking you somewhere else, and you just looking at that viewfinder going, damn. I mean, there was some stuff that Morgan did looking at the eyepiece, and you're just like, all right, man, I can't cry in this eyepiece or else I won't be able to see shit. So don't do it. Fight it, but like be present, because it's incredible what they do.
Yeah.
And they make it look so effortless.
Man, it's like dropping names, but it's just, I have to say, it's like there was this movie I did called Where is Kira? It had Michelle Pfeiffer in it. Going back to
that was Bradford Young who shot that.
Yes,
I'm gonna know all the DPs of the movies that you're talking about, but like Bradford is a god.
Yeah.
But at the same time, one of the most humble people, bags of humility. Anyway, tell your story, because I want to hear it, because I love how that movie looked.
There was friction between Michelle and the director. There was something going on. She was off, and I remember they had me set up at my mark and where I was going to be. And the scene was she's walking in, and I'm playing a bus station attendant, and the director comes up to me right before we shoot, and he says, "You know what? We didn't realize that Michelle had lines in this scene." And I'm thinking, "Oh God!" And it's just it's a page of dialogue, and I'm thinking, "Oh man!" And she's already in a bad mood, and I don't know what's gonna happen.
Dude, there's nothing fun about that.
There was nothing, but the moment they yelled action, she showed up as if she studied that scene the whole night before. And we did 2 takes, and she said, "I'm done." We only got my coverage too. That's it. We only got my coverage, but she went in there, and if they would have gotten her coverage, it would have been amazing. It's there's been a few times where I'm just in awe of another actor that I'm working with knowing the background, that she didn't even know she had lines. She just looked at them real quick, and then boom, crushed that scene.
Yeah. That was interesting. Don't we all? But you know what, man? Like, speaking to that, there was something interesting about, my dip into television last year, because I felt like it's so interesting to watch an actor in their 4th season of a show. I don't think people are off handing out Emmys to the cast of Stranger Things or anything, which is a tragedy, but they all know that character so well.
Yes.
And they have such a camaraderie, and it was always so impressive to me to see how easy it was for them at that point to turn it on and off. Between takes, they are just that cast love each other. They all love each other, and they're so and they are so funny, and they are just all such wonderful people, and they can at this point separate themselves a little bit from the show and then turn it on, like get right into their skin. And it'd just be amazing to watch one of them being a human 1 second, but have such a strong understanding of their character and a strong understanding of their craft to be able to hit every emotional beat, because they just know it so well. It's really, really interesting to watch in a different way, right? Like,
and they're kids. For the most part, most of them are just
they're the
kids.
They're kids.
And they have that understanding.
They're mostly kids. But they do, and they just they at that point, they just know the character so well. They just need a little guidance. They just need a little push from a director or from something in the script. But it's amazing how great actors can just get there like instantly. And some of them obviously don't do that. Some of them are, get real method, and that's, look, nothing wrong with that either. I was just really, it was my first time again watching actors do something they had done well before I had ever gotten there.
Yeah.
Instead of a new character being created, and just watching that journey, from a fan's perspective was really interesting and different.
Well, I mean, the show you're talking about is Stranger Things, and going on to a show like that, it's in the 4th season. Since you're new to the show, do they give you like some kind of, I often wonder this, because like I've been on TV shows where we shoot in blocks. There's like 3 episodes here, and then there's another director, 3 episodes there. There's like a binder or like a notebook or something that they pass along, like, this is the aesthetic you're gonna keep. These are the things to keep in mind. Or is there like just in production meetings, how does that work out? I've been curious about that, because as an actor, I'm gonna show up and I'm just gonna say, my scene, just do what I got to do, my lines, and go here. Like Law and Order, there's a new director every couple of episodes, but yet Law and Order looks like Law and Order for 22 years now, or whatever it is.
It's incredible, the consistency. It's crazy. I did not. For starters, I came on in a very specific capacity this season. So the season, it was shot by Lachlan Milne, Caleb Heyman, and Brett Chuckowitz. All of them, the highest level of pedigree. Lockie had shot Minari, along with, I go on his resume. But that's just the most recent, like, buzzy, title. And then, Caleb did the Fear Street trilogy for Netflix. Brett just did Scream 5 or 5 Scream or Scream. He just did the recent Scream.
Yeah, Scream,
so they were the sort of episode DPs. I came on as the tandem director of photography. So they were just a little bit behind. COVID, really wrecked their shooting schedule. It really shut them down, like right in the middle of right as they were getting going. It just also complicated a lot of the logistics of that show. It's a big show with a lot of big set pieces and a lot of people in rooms, and it was complicated. So I was called in to sort of shoot major sequences from a lot of different episodes, just to help pick up the pieces and help them get back on schedule and back on track. So I didn't shoot enough of any one episode to get credited as the DP on that episode, but I was just there to help out. I was there to do what needed to be done and shoot big scene, little scene. If they needed an insert, I didn't do a ton of that kind of stuff, inserts and VFX plates, but like whatever they needed, and that was kind of my job. And I was there for about 28 days shooting, whatever needed to be shot. And so that was my role this season, and it was really fun because we were given a full crew. It wasn't like we were, second units often stripped down. It's tandem, like maybe you've heard of like those tandem days that you do, like, but it was tandem days for 20 something days,
wow.
And it was I learned a lot. There was no book. I did not receive a book. I think it was really like, you've seen the show, right? I was like, duh, of course I have. And a fan of the show. And I had just come off Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I think they were, as you heard from this previous thing, a lot of the other folks had come from sort of horror stuff. Although Lockie has done everything as well. But so that was kind of how I got involved. It was really come in and do this and do this chunk of shooting, and I was happy to oblige. So, but there was not a binder. It was really like, Lockie and Caleb really just kind of took me under their wing. They'd been shooting at that point for months and months. And we're just, this is the show, and come watch, and you get a sense of what we're doing this season, which is a little different. For because the tone of the season is a little different. And the scale of the season is much bigger. It's ginormous. And so that was it. I just kind of shadowed and watched, and obviously my understanding of the show, and that was my way in. And I just did my best to keep up. And I'm really proud of some of the stuff I got to shoot. And I'm really excited to see it all cut in with their stuff. Because that's kind of the fun of it, right? You go, oh my gosh, ideally
Yeah.
seamlessly weave in with all their
Yeah.
work, and it's a testament to the entire team on that show, because it is, I'm blown away how it doesn't get away from them. It's the logistics of running two full crews at the same time, sharing cast. I still don't know how they did it, but my
I've
hat
yet
is
to do something like that.
off.
Yeah. Like how
often we did it.
Yeah, I don't know how they did. Do you ever find yourself when you're watching these things, like you've been a fan for, since the beginning of Stranger Things, you watch it, you're kind of guessing, okay, maybe they use this lens, or maybe they use whatever, they lit it like this, and when you were on set, you're like, I was right, or wow, they did it like that. Did you ever find that?
Oh, it's a mix of everything. I mean, some of it you're like, yeah, of course, but a lot of it is, oh, that's so much simpler than I would have ever guessed.
Yes.
And sometimes it is, oh, that is way more complicated than I would have thought. And I think that for season 4, it was more, how much they have to rely on visual effects this season, because the scope and the scale of the show has gotten to this point.
Yeah.
But I think what I was most surprised by is, despite all of that, the season is so intimate. It's like the characters and the way they bond this season. It's just and what they go through and what they discover is really, it's just a really good season. I'm super stoked for friends and family and well, the whole world to see it, because I know the whole world is like, summer 2022. These things take time and the Duffers, were obviously really, really busy with their unit. So, my time with them face to face was limited, but they're just such precise, and they just love this world they created so much. You can just see it coming out of in the sweat that they're dripping while shooting in that Atlanta sun. And the people that they surround themselves with, like obviously Sean Levy's a producer on the show, but he's also the director on the show. They just surround themselves with some of the best people that also love that show so deeply, and go on forever. I think, again, the biggest thing I got off of working this season was how much of a family they all really are. And I'm not just talking about the cast, who it's clear they very much are, but the folks behind the scenes who make it all happen. It's a big ask for a lot of them, and it takes them away from their lives and their families, but they create a new family, and it's amazing to see every season how they manage to one up themselves. It's nuts.
Oh, I can imagine. I've yet to be on anything of that scale, and I'm excited. Like, you just seeing what's going on right now. Just, you have the Marvel films coming out with just one thing after another, but Marvel shows. And then I just saw the new the Lord of the Rings trailer teaser. That looks epic. You talk about how many units did they have for that, and
who knows, man?
It's crazy.
Who knows?
It's just, what would it be like?
I have photos that I like. I didn't take a lot of pictures while on that set, because the pace was still pretty fast on that show. But there's a scene by a lake. I mean, I don't think it's giving away anything, but there's a scene by a lake, and it was a lot of fun lighting that scene. It was typically on some of the other budget projects I've worked on, it's like, you just light this area, add a little atmosphere, just get what you can out of it, but we're not expecting you to do, create miracles here. This lake is 1,500 feet across. Like, what are you going to do? But, Stranger Things is a horse of a different color. And, the amount of firepower lighting wise I got to use to sort of illuminate some of that, both on land and by sea, and by air, actually. It was a logistical effort.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun. It was so much fun. It was hard, but it was so much fun. It was the biggest toys I've ever played with.
Yeah.
It was a great experience. And you're right,
Really?
just like walking and seeing the mess you made, you're just like, oh my God, like I made this mess. This is my mess.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So when you get that's what I was often wondering about being on set with cinematographers. They give you, who gives you the vision? The director says, I want this, or you say, I suggest this to the director. The director says, hey, we should do this. And do you as the DP say, well, we could do it like this, and then you decide how the lighting is? Because I don't know the chain of command when it comes to that.
That's it's so
thing.
Different. It's so different, man. It depends.
It just depends.
It's like every director is different. Some directors have so much control over everything, really. But that doesn't exclude the camera and lighting side of things. And some directors really are quite hands off and really are open to suggestion. And perhaps they hired you because they just really love your aesthetic or your sensibilities based on other projects they've seen. And they just want to talk to you about it thematically and from the character and story standpoint. And then you just pitch them on a bunch of stuff. Then you go do the R&D, you shoot some tests and try to present them with what you feel is right based on that conversation. And it just sort of develops from there, and you try to keep that consistent and tell a story with it. And then there's also directors who will storyboard everything, who have a shot list, pages long, and who will dictate to you, I really want this scene to, have a lot of hard light and shadow. I want there to be a lot of atmosphere. I want us to use lenses like this in order to create a sense of X and Y. And so it really just depends. I am of the, I get the question a lot, like, which do you prefer? Especially in interviews when I'm interviewing to shoot a project. Like, how do you like to work? I'm like, honestly, whatever gets the most out of you. I've always felt that my job should be to support a director's vision, and that includes creating one for them if that's necessary. But more importantly, it needs to, at the very least, come from their sort of the core of their story of what they're trying to say. It's whatever gets the most out of that director. If they want, if they make better movies because they're not saying where the camera should go, then let's do that. And if it's the opposite, they want to not only place the camera but choose the lens, if the movie is better for that, because I get more mileage out of them, great. That's the goal, right? Is to collaborate, but at the same time, I'm there to support the filmmakers. And I have an ego, but I also understand what my role is in all of this, which is to be a bit of a therapist and a bit of an artist. It's both. And sometimes you dial up one more than the other. And I just want to tell great stories, and I don't mind if that means on this one I'm more therapist and a little less artist. And that also means that if you give me the opportunity, I'm going to run as the artist and also be the therapist. But you know what I mean? Like it's just different for everybody. Every filmmaker is different. Like if you work with David Fincher, like you're going to bring something to the table, but like David has such specific tastes. And it's gonna very much look like a David Fincher movie.
Oh yeah, I've known a couple people who worked with him.
And you work with, maybe not the best example, but a Woody Allen. It can change. It's open to, there's certain, I think, visual elements that are definitely Woody, but I also think that for the most part, a lot of those films can look different depending on whether Darius Kanji is shooting it versus anyone else. It's the job is to create, but I think it's to also get the most out of everybody, including yourself, but especially the director. So
nice.
Yeah.
No, that's when as the actor, sitting around, they either go to the cast chair or they're just changing up some things, some lights. So you have the electric department, going around testing the power, the wattage of the lights and all that.
Yeah, this and little eyeglass, and you're like,
what's
up over here,
the
monocle,
chart, like chart of like, oh,
yeah.
okay. I just wonder, like, what is that?
Oh, we're just looking cool, dude. That's it.
Yeah,
we're just trying to look cool. I tell them to do that, just
but to make me look cool
and make you look great.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I appreciate the most, because I don't look great without all that magic.
I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second. Look at that smile. Look at that smile. I don't need to do anything to make you look good, buddy.
Yeah. Do you plan on doing more TV?
Man, I'd be lying if I didn't say that I'm interested for sure. I'd love to do more with Stranger Things, if they'd be willing to have me again in any capacity. But I think I'm interested in television if I get to create the look of the show. Like that would be, whether that's shooting pilots or doing, like Netflix 8-episode chunks.
That's what I was going to ask you as well, because I know there's that trap. It's not a trap, but you can either fall into, staying there for if it's network 22 episodes, or now with streaming or even HBO, it's 8 episodes, 10 episodes, 13 if you're lucky, or if it's just a limited run series, based off a book, and they just end it there off of that limited run. That way you can move on to the next. It's just longer movies. It's really what they are. Or would you?
I don't think it. I think for me, I'm gonna let time kind of dictate what feels right. You know what I mean? Maybe there is a day, maybe sooner rather than later, where it's like, you know what, I'd love to just be in LA all day, all year, for most of the year, shooting 23-4 episodes of network television. And there are some great looking network TV out there. And then you just kind of hope, like, we'll fall into that. Maybe I'm start a family, or maybe I just want to be at home more because I like my house. I mean, did you see that tube TV over there?
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to play Nintendo on that all day? Like, yeah, of course. Or at least when you get home from work. That's so I really don't want to weigh anything out. But like right now, a friend of mine once said, can you name the DP who shot the 8th episode of that show? And I go, I guess I can't. It's like, well, that's something that you got to consider if that's what you want to do. Like, there's just a little more glory in the narrative world. So I'd like to continue to make movies. I would like to, not just for the glory, although it can be okay when people at least like what you did, because the other side of that glory is, they're like, that looks like crap, Rick. Like, sorry, buddy. So it's a double-edged sword, but at the same time, I also love the commitment of a movie in terms of time. It is the right amount of, like, even an indie movie at 4 weeks of shooting to, Chainsaw was like 8 weeks of shooting. And I'm sure on the even bigger stuff, it's, whatever, 25, whatever. 20 weeks, 25 weeks of shooting. But, there's something nice about that time frame and that timeline. And then look, I didn't grow up watching a lot of television. It was really about the cinematic experience for me. Tinseltown, baby. Sherry Road, Expressway 83. What?
The Tinseltown.
And so for me, like, that's my palace. That's always been a place I go as a refuge from the world, to just get away and turn my head off and slip into some little bit of trickery, some magic, and some great storytelling. So I want to make movies, and I'm so glad that Chainsaw, coming out Friday, February 18th, is landing on Netflix. Like, 220 million subscribers globally can turn that movie on Friday morning and watch that film. I never had that kind of reach in my life. But a little baby part of me is sad, of course,
you wish you had a theatrical run.
Wish you had the theatrical run. But that's more selfish than it is
Yeah.
practical. But I do love watching movies in the cinema, and when you watch the film, you know, everybody, Colin Stetson, who did the score, it's not particularly melodic, but I've heard it in a movie theater, and
Yeah.
there's no replacing,
Yeah.
you know, having really high quality sound with
Yeah.
his score. It's
Yeah.
for everything, and the sound design, and it's, you know, you just you can't beat that experience.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
bucket of sloppy buttered popcorn and a pickle, which we don't get here in California.
Well, that's
Not
not a
having
thing
a
up
pickle
here either.
I hate to say it, but I gotta slip it in, bro. You gotta slip it
Yeah.
in. Buy the best made pickle jar and then slip that in.
Yeah, you got to sneak it in. I mean, there's the things that when I found out that is only a thing that we did in the valley, like the popcorn and the pickle and confetti and the Easter eggs.
Dude, the confetti and the Easter eggs still to this day blows my mind. That I was positive everyone else did that.
I
was
thought
almost
everyone
certain
did that.
Everyone did that.
Yeah.
And honestly, even the flaming hot Cheetos with cheese and jalapenos, like that was. I did find that did finally creep out here to Southern California. There's a couple of places that do it, but
not here.
But the fact that everybody didn't do that kind of made me incredulous of everybody else.
Yeah. I it made it. I felt lost. I didn't know that people didn't do that. And did you know they made a movie, or they're making a movie about the flaming hot Cheetos, about the guy who created
Thank
the flaming
God.
hot. That's
Thank
amazing.
God. It's about time they get the dignity and respect they deserve.
Exactly. I didn't realize that it was a guy who worked at the Cheeto factory or something like that. I might be wrong, but I think the way the story goes is that he worked at the factory and created the Flaming Hot Cheetos. And yeah, it's called Flaming Hot. This film.
And a grateful nation thanks him.
Yeah, I thank him. I love him. How do you feel about that now? Like, we talked about the whole streaming situation, because I deal with it when I have contracts. I like when it's a new media contract, I get paid peanuts. You know, every actor gets pretty much peanuts when you have a new media contract being with Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, whatever those streaming services are. And the effect that they had for the cinemas out there.
Yeah.
I just felt like those kind of changed the way we watch movies and how readily available they were. I hate to say this, it's harder for me to watch movies sometimes now, just because so much content is being thrown out.
Yeah. Dude, my feeling is I'm somewhere torn in the middle, because at home, there's no doubt that I don't have to worry about, you know, rotten kids and, you know, whoever, or if you're in the valley, you know, listening to one person translate the movie from English to Spanish to the other, and you're just like, shut up, or answering the phones or texting or just, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
There's that. And I totally get that, because we're so distracted now, and everyone treats the movie theater like their living room.
Yeah.
And, you know, at home you can get great sound, you can get a really great screen and good projection. If you want projection, there's OLED televisions that look fantastic. I have one in my bedroom. I love that thing. It's a great panel, but there's just nothing like sitting in a dark theater with like-minded individuals who are willing to sit there and put their shit away for 2 hours, 90 minutes, whatever, and just get wrapped up in a story. And that shared experience cannot be touched. And as good as the stuff is at home, the just talking purely equipment, you can't beat the sound in a proper theater. I also agree with you that it's really difficult to get invested in a story at home that requires you to pay attention for 90 minutes or 2 hours
too,
because of that. Yeah, a TV show, look, man, let's not kid ourselves. Even some of the best shows, you know, every episode there's padding. They have to pad some of this stuff. There's a few really tight shows, but the truth is, it's you can kind of zone out for a little bit in a scene and come back in, and you still kind of know what happened. I hope you don't do that, but I'm guilty of it sometimes.
I do it all the time.
I know that, but in a movie,
I have kids. Yeah.
you leave you go to the bathroom. Like, I'm terrified to leave to the bathroom because the storytelling is so much tighter. Like, you really don't want to miss too much because it's either important to the plot or it's important to a character, it's important to their journey, blah, 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 blah. Like, you really, I think people are turned off from watching movies at home because they can't be distracted and still enjoy it. And we've just gotten to the point where everyone's like okay with being distracted all the time. I just, that's when I really want to give my heart to a movie, I go to the theater. I mean, it's been tough with the pandemic, but I watched everything. I watched stuff I didn't even want to see. I just love being in that dark room with my popcorn and I like I get something out of good and bad. So for me, it's worth it. It's worth it. And so, I'm so glad that we have the reach that these streaming platforms have. But I'm also sad that we lost a bit of that etiquette, and etiquette, I also kind of the etiquette. Yeah, we've lost the etiquette. And the fact is, because I'm dealing with a little bit of it right now with Chainsaw, is I think because there's so little marketing on when stuff goes to streaming. They don't have to. They understand that they have a captive audience to some degree. But it also means that the movies are less eventful. Like cinema marketing, like major motion pictures that go to theaters, you remember it because they create these tent poles, right? They stick a date in the sand 2 years out. They start leaking images and posters and teasers and this, and you've got Jurassic World Dominion dropping a trailer 6 months before it comes out, and you just get jazzed for it. You get excited. Like, even if you don't see the movie, you're so aware of it. And I'd say the only thing about streaming is even the good ones, even when I'm like, this movie was great, or this show was great.
The show is great.
There's so much and so little promotion of it that I couldn't tell you the movies I saw on name a platform this year. Like, I couldn't name them all, but like, in the theater, I can, because I remember them, because there was so much anticipation for them. So that I find interesting. I wish that the platforms would put just a little more of that billions of dollars into making me excited about, not surprised, because that's what I find I'm often doing. Like, oh, this is really good. I'm so surprised. This is really, really great.
Because
I didn't know about it, but here it is. It's right there on the homepage. I think if there was a little more done, even Adam Project, which, by the way, I think is going to be amazing. I don't know if you saw the trailer for it during the Super Bowl. But even that, they dropped a trailer for that film a month out. And I was just like, this is something that you clearly know is a hit. It's a winner. This is a winner, baby. Why aren't we seeing that poster 6 months out, or even 4 months out, 3 months out, or in that trailer? So I'm interested. I hope that paradigm shifts now that the major studios are coming into the fold and it's not just the tech companies. But I'd love to see some kind of balance. Just give us a little more, guys. Give us a little more. I think it would just be so much easier to sort of goalpost those movies in that time and when I saw them in a way that I do with going to the theater. So I don't know. I kind of answered you in a bunch of different ways, but
no, I totally get it.
They're all great. I mean, look, I also love all the television we're getting. It's
I do too.
If something hits, man, it's good.
I do too. I really enjoy all that, but I do agree with you about they have the money for marketing. They definitely do. And the reason I say that is because it is award season. So I get tons of screeners, and the amount of money Netflix puts into their
those
DVDs.
campaigns.
Why do I need DVDs for Netflix? Like, who does not have a Netflix account that you need to ship me DVDs? And on top of the DVDs,
T-Mobile hands it to you as a part of your subscription.
Exactly. And they not only hand you, or they send you the DVDs, they send little pamphlets. Please vote for
Yeah.
so and so
Yeah.
show. Please vote for this. I'm like, why are you sending this to me?
Yeah.
You could do this for like
Yeah.
maybe you should have done this for the movie so you could have gotten a little bit more publicity or people watching it. Like when I think about horror movies, I'm torn because with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I'm looking forward. It's one of my favorite movies. I have, a Blu-ray 40th, anniversary edition of the original. I love it. Seth Duffy and we go back and forth every other day or week just talking about horror. Hey, are you gonna check this out? Did you read this book? And blah blah blah. We go back and forth.
Right.
We've been looking forward to this. And one of the things is like you hear about movies, and one of the things I hear like in horror podcasts, because I follow like the Blumhouse podcast and all that, is there's always the experience of being in a horror audience. There's just
Yeah. Oh
some
man.
movies, the
So
movies
much fun.
may not
So much
be
fun.
as fun unless you see them with a crowd. And there's some movies that you might just want to watch, in a small setting, a
Yeah.
quiet setting. I mean, for me, I saw Get Out on 34th Street here in a packed house. That made the movie for me. That's just one of those things. But if I would have seen it on Netflix, I feel, and this is my fault, but I probably one of millions of people that get distracted with the phone. Even if I try to put it in the other room, I'm just like, it's a little slow here.
Yeah. This moment's a little slow. Did I
Slow.
get that email? No.
Oh,
Okay.
I just checked it
Oh,
like it's
all right.
35 seconds ago.
Yeah.
And it happens with shows all the time for me. So I don't know. I'm also grateful that the movies pop out to where I can see them.
Chainsaw is playing in New York at a theater, and it's a double feature at the Paris Theater on Friday
Really?
night. Yep, get tickets. It's a double feature with the original Chainsaw. So they're both 80 minutes. So I mean, it's a nice little bite. But yeah, you can check out Chainsaw, ours and the original, Friday night at the Paris Theater. Get your tickets, bro. If you can find a babysitter.
Yeah, no, I'll go. My wife doesn't like horror. I love horror movies. That's the one thing I want to do is a horror film. When I found out like the Valley guys were doing a horror film, I'm like, man, and I wasn't in it. I would have played just a janitor, a gas station attendant. I would have played anything.
Well, dude, get all your friends to watch it so we can make that sequel. And
Well, there
now
we go.
we'll make that happen. We'll make those dreams happen.
Absolutely, man. We'll definitely do that. What one last thing, and then I'll let you go. What was that one job that you realized that this is it? I'm gonna make a living doing this. Like, do you remember like this is like the I don't know, the quote unquote big break, or may not be the big break, because sometimes the next project may seem like it's the big break. It always feels like it's what I've learned is, this might be the big break. But I thought the last one was the big break. But the one job is like, okay,
Always.
I'm gonna be,
Always.
it just always seems like
Yeah.
this is it,
I
this guest
know.
star.
And then you're surprised when it wasn't the it that you expected it to be. No, you're 100% right, man. I'm tired of trying to pretend like I know that this movie or that show or that commercial or that thing will just somehow take off, because the truth is it has not been the case. Still to this point, all these projects that I've come on have been relationship based. It's not like someone was like, I saw that project of yours and just think you're incredible. It was usually, hey, I know this guy, he's great, watch his stuff, and then let's consider him to do this. And that's usually how it's been. So I hear what you're saying, but every time I get to be behind the camera, I do truly take it as a gift. And so every moment to me, I try to walk on the set with kind of childlike eyes and go like, oh my God, like, I don't care how small or how big the set is. Like I'm making a movie. I'm the DP and I am making a movie. This is everything that I hoped for myself. That said, I made a film in summer of 2015 called First Girl I Loved with a collaborator friend of mine from UT, Karam Sanga, who I love dearly. And we had made a movie prior to that, and we'd known each other for a long time, made a bunch of short films in school and all that fun stuff. But I read that script and I just knew. I just was like, this is so good. And I remember talking to my wife and calling my mom and going, look, if we do this right, if we, and by right I just mean if we honor the spirit of the script, it didn't matter how much money we had, just like we could go out there with a little camera and some lenses, as long as we got what's on the page, the emotion out, this could be a Sundance movie. I said it. I was like, this is my opportunity to take a swing at that festival. And then every day on that movie was just a little miracle, watching that cast. They're so good in that film, every one of them. And I just every day felt like this is, I want to keep doing this. Like, I want to keep feeling invested emotionally, and I want to keep feeling like I'm creating some kind of magic. And I wasn't it wasn't like I was, the magic of making you believe we cut an arm off or whatever. It was the magic of you feeling, of goading out that emotional catharsis from the audience. And we just did it. And that movie, to this day, it was the best experience because of where it landed in my career. Like all of my movies, it's like picking your favorite child, right? It's impossible to do. I love them all. But there was just something about that project. And then the fact that it did eventually go on to play Sundance and won an audience award at Sundance was
I
chef's
can
kiss.
Yeah. Pam Adlon was in it, right?
Hell yeah, man.
That's
love
how
Pam.
We're connected again.
Yeah, man.
Morgan
She's
Freeman.
great.
I worked with her too. She's hilarious.
So funny, and she's so funny and so good. She's such a talented actor.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I'd love to work with her again. Maybe someday. Someday
I would too.
And I love her show. That show for better things. Oh, the whole cast. Oh God,
man,
get out that are amazing.
That show speaks to me. That first the pilot where she's in the audition. And what's her name from Modern Family? Julie Bowen comes out, and they're like, why are we in here? I don't know how many times that's happened to me in an audition room where I audition with the same dudes. It's just we've got just we all know each other. We all it's to the point where when we're having in-person auditions, we text each other like, hey, why aren't you here? Like, were you here earlier? Like, it's one of those things.
Right.
But then,
right.
When so-and-so comes in, you're like, why are we even here? Like, this is
right.
Leave. It's just like, it's just leave. But yeah, that show's so good. And
she's great. She's amazing.
Yeah. You're amazing. And thank you for doing this. I really,
thanks, buddy.
Really,
thanks for having me.
This.
It's just good guys. Everybody who's watching, this is really just our chance to catch up. And thanks for this is just us. This is a catching up time that you recorded. We just recorded our hangout, our bi-coastal hangout.
We documented it, and just to prove that we did it. And if we ever go old and senile, it's like the Notebook. This is our proof that we had this conversation. And Amen. This is our Notebook. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre out this Friday. I'm very proud of you. We've come
I'm proud of you.
Long way. Well, thank you. We will work together.
We are going to. There's no doubt in my mind. And Lindsay will cast it. Ollie will direct it, and you will be in it, and I'll shoot it.
It'll be a whole Sherryland production.
That's right. That's right. And we'll definitely have to get the paper involved. We'll have to
the monitor to Festiva.
Yes.
Before I let you go, I get a little butthurt sometimes, but when I was down in the valley, I've done a couple little things, and this is just ego talking. But there was sometimes they would have like little featurettes and the Monitor, which is the local newspaper down where we're from, and it's like local talent, the kid shoots commercial for HEB or something like that, hits it big. I'm like, I've been here for 6 months. Like, what the hell?
And that emoji of the dude like raising your hand.
I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, and then there was the only reason why I knew that girl Ariana Guerra was from McAllen is because she actually booked something pretty big. So I was like, okay, she gets it.
Respect.
You know? Yeah, respect. But yeah, man, I'm still waiting for two things: an article in the Monitor Festiva and my water tower.
Gotta get the water tower, dude.
Paige,
Love that.
my big old face.
I want that for you. I want that for you.
Wouldn't that be
man.
awesome? Just to have it.
That would be cool.
But have it like where I haven't even cut my hair or shaved it, just like this patchy stuff. I want that picture.
Perfect. And we'll print it with such detail that you can really see it from the interchange, you know?
Yeah.
Where 281 splits onto 83. From that high vantage point, you'll be able to see the top and you'll have all that detail. It's going to be great. I want this amazing for you.
Thank you. From your lips to God's ears, it's going to happen by 2030. All right, man.
There you go.
You can stay online after we stop recording. Everybody, thank you for listening. You can check this out on YouTube. Just look under Jorge Chapa. And as always, it's on iTunes, Spotify, all your podcast, listening stations. I haven't done this in a while, so I'm a bit rusty, but thank you for listening and watching. I really appreciate the 10 to 15 of y'all that continue to stand by me through this whole pandemic. Thank you, and take care of each other. Be nice.